horse drifted alarmingly in the betting, was, fancied in the morning, continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Buttons.
The ground is soft.
It's heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
And a big warm welcome to the Barstewards Inquiry Sunday Sermon on this Sabbath. What a show we've got for you in prospect. 2 Barstewards exclusives. We're ranting like hell this week, going bananas about the state of racing, the watering, everything, you name it. This is a show you're going to be absolutely playing again. You'll play it again, Sam. Joining me to chew the fat and dish out the dirt are my 2 diggers of dirt, Jonas Leng and Lorne Malvo. Chris. Good evening, chaps.
Hello.
Yeah. John, of course, fresh from his beautiful 3-point nugget yesterday on the horses at Haydock, 16-1 advised, absolutely boshed up. So John's in great form.
Forever grateful to unacceptable watering practices.
Which brings us on to our first topic. Let's go there. So this week, we're back in full flow. Now we've had a bit of dry weather and, the sun's come out to 20 degrees, not 30, but 20. We're seeing, watering taking place across many tracks. Haydock this week, for example, put on 50 mils before their initial meeting on Thursday. And the strange thing here, that good old Kirkland told everyone it was good to firm on the Thursday, and I had owners complain to me by DM. I had people say, you've got to mention this, that they backed their horses and run their horses because Kirkland said good to, and the Times said good to soft, and the slow side of good to soft, John.
It's unbelievable, isn't it, really? The minute you get a bit of sunshine, Kirkland and others, and let's be fair, others, he's not the only culprit by a long shot.
Nope.
Get their watering cans out. Perennially overdo it. It's not something that happens by accident. They always overwater. They don't just maintain grass growth. And I would suggest 8 times out of 10 they ruin the maiden.
Yeah, I mean we've championed this, and the good thing though now, seeing some comments this week, there's a few trainers I think disgruntled this week. Obviously they've got fast ground horses, they want fast ground. The Shark has chimed in and he got his piece in the Racing Post, absolutely furious. He says he lost a horse at Limerick due to the sloppy ground. Said the horse slipped as it jumped, and basically said this is wrong. We shouldn't be racing on slippy conditions. Just he's primed his horse to run on fast ground in the summer, and he lost his horse sadly. And he blamed.
The trouble with that in 2 years' time, when they compare looking back at the stats from this year, that'll be classed as a fatality on good to firm.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. This is where we're at. Like saying with Kirkland, to officially describe that as good to firm and not change it at any point throughout the day, despite the Times saying strongly otherwise, is negligent in terms of the accuracy of the sport. We have to do our research and call things out when it's not cricket. And on this occasion, there were many disappointed owners on the first day, particularly at Haydock, when everyone expected, nice, quick, decent ground, as you probably would have expected. So, John, do you think this is? It's not an accusation, but do you think there's some fabrications going on with the going sticks and stuff? Because there's no way that going stick could have been right at Haydock.
Well, Lee, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? There's no censure. There's nobody checking on your work.
No.
You never get pulled. It doesn't matter what you say. You could call every ground good to firm. Nobody from the BHA come knocking on your door because they've got a gross profits deal that means the more you shaft the punters, the better the BHA like it. And I'm going to keep banging that drum now because that's how it is. The BHA want followers of this sport to have their pants pulled down, and that is the bottom line.
It is. Everything in the game is steering that way. It's against the punter. It literally is everything. And we'll get on to things like that further in the show. But just going back to Haydock again, and we saw a big rail bias on the Saturday. Again, we only get, for me, John, we only get rail biases when there's watering taking place, because it's either a dead rail, as sometimes you see at Chester when they, sometimes wide then suddenly comes into play, or it's a good rail where, like you said, Stan's rail at Haydock Saturday, Jesus, it was like that was a proper highway.
I put on our, I mean, you were there, Lee. I put on our chat thread 3/4 of an hour before my 3 points ran. I said, we're looking at this. I said, mine's a fucking certainty.
You did. That's it. And it was back. If punters are wondering why that yours was backed, it wasn't because it was like, ooh, this is a big touch. It was just basically clued up punters saying, well, as long as they stick to Stan's rail, it's got an amazing chance. So yeah, that was the reason behind the money for John's in particular. I'm not saying that it wouldn't have won anyway. Who knows? I mean, it's won impressively, but certainly the rail gave it a lot of help. And this is the case. We'll see this in July at Newmarket from Prosser and stuff. We'll see this where a rail bias might develop and ruin the July meeting. We've had this in the past. Not always the case, but sometimes is the case. You can get a big rail bias on the July course, and it just ruins top class racing when everyone's fighting to get on the rail, and the ones that don't get beat, as we saw with the filly that Adam Norman wanted to fist, John, last summer at Royal Acclaim. She was completely Donald ducked.
She was fisted, wasn't she?
Yeah. Do you know what? Adam Norman, our contributor, it's got to be one of the biggest bocks in the world, I think, even more than you, Chris, right? Because he made a comment on Barstewards tipping after my shorty had got beat in the first, and he went, "We're all potless," and then everyone started shitting with us as soon as he'd said it. Yeah, he's a bock. Terrible from Adam Norman. But moving on then. So the watering, John, has to be decided by the trainers. I think the trainers are the only ones.
The only power, because nobody will listen to the punters.
No, we could scream all day on this pod and say it's a disgrace. No one cares. It literally is down to the trainers. If John and Slim want good to soft, they'll bloody well get good to soft. Because
at the end of the day, Lee, me and yourself could put some weight overalls on, get bags of orange paint powder, go down to High Holborn, strap ourselves to the inner thighs of Jolie Harrington, and decorate the old flange with orange paint powder, shouting, "Just stop watering." And because Mr. Tellwright is in Burke's peerage,
yes,
we haven't got a hope in hell.
Is he Burke's peerage?
He is. He married a Fitzherbert, and one of his daughters is married to the son of Lord and Lady John Fitzgerald.
A lot of fixtures there, like the Irish gays.
He's elite.
Is he, Chris? Is he as elite as Penny Morden?
He's getting there, isn't he? I mean, yeah, she'd have to be looking over her shoulder, wouldn't you put it that way?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting how these people get jobs, and John's just highlighted there why Kirkland is still firmly in the role at Haydock Park. We might need Gravy Train Graham to go in again and give him either a good scene to
give him a good showing in the car.
Yeah. Smack him in the car park to help us out. So Gravy Train Graham, if you're listening, that's something you can help Billy Bunters out with, future watering at Haydock Park. Right, we'll move on. There's not we can do. Down to the trainers, lads. So the trainers will decide the ground, in my opinion. That they've got the power to influence the clerk, in my view, in this situation, and that's what we're dealing with. We move on to a topic that's not sort of racing related. It's a footballer. Ivan Toney got found breach of betting rules, and he faces an 8-month ban from playing in football, and that was basically he was backing and laying his own team amongst other sorts of bets based on team news, information, and whatnot. So fair enough. It is what it is. A player's committed offence. But what I found sickening, chaps, was after the event, right? He came out and claimed he was an addict and he needed help, and he's basically playing the victim card again. I mean, Chris, I'm going to bring you in here because this is a sorry state of affairs, isn't it? Because people are knowing actually what to do now and how to handle it.
Yeah, exactly right. That said before, in the kind of social hierarchy, victims, people that identify as having a particular character flaw or weakness, they're at the apex of the pyramid now. So, irrespective of whatever offence or misdemeanor you're accused of, you've got to try and find a way of crafting that to show yourself as the victim. And that's what he's done. And frankly, he didn't work it out for himself. I'm sure his advisors would have said, listen, pal, this is the way we get round it. You say you're an addict, everyone will feel sorry for you, and it will be a lot easier than if you turned around and said, yeah, I had a bet and I wasn't meant to. That's a much less compelling message these days than saying you're a victim. So,
yeah. The other sickening thing after that, then is, of course, Ivan Toney makes this statement saying that he's an addict when clearly he was quite shrewd. He was betting on information. Well, he wasn't shrewd in betting on his own name. He wasn't shrewd in that way in terms of, you should have just used a friend's name or something or whatever. But it was the fact that he was betting cleverly. He was betting shrewdly. He was betting on information that he knew and no one else did about team selections, etc., which I agree with. The punishment should have been lengthier than that. To me, it was like basically, that is using information to the absolute max that obviously they are prohibited from doing so. But another question raises, Chris and John, about how punters are getting affordability checks and stuff right, left and centre and everything else and KYC. If the bookmaker did KYC on Ivan Toney, how on earth, after his first bet, lay Brentford, how on earth then didn't they red flag that and say, come on?
Good question.
It is. I mean, I looked at that earlier in the week. I had a thing. I thought, why wouldn't he have been an obvious red flag? I mean, it's not. You'd think that would pop up automatically, wouldn't it?
It's an auto.
Well, yeah, it's an auto. So why didn't it? It's not.
Yeah.
I'm not assuming. If it's an automatic system, then it should have popped up. If that system is working in the way in which they tell us it is.
Yeah, I mean, Ivan Toney, as a free citizen in the Western world, is allowed to bet on anything bar football. He can bet on literally horses, whatever he wants to do, fruit machines, whatever. But a lot of his betting activity listed was basically heavily information based, as in he knew he was either starting, not starting, etc., etc. So that's a massive edge in terms of probably goal scorer markets and whatever else that he was doing. Yeah, a sickening sort of end really to obviously Tony's representatives, like you say, Chris, have clearly worked it out and thought, right, this is the best way to come out looking good or half looking good. Let people feel sorry for the lad. He's had it tough. He's addicted.
Isn't that another nail in the coffin of how the public view gambling? Here is a high-profile individual that I dare say young people look up to, like football, etc., etc. And here he's saying, don't do what I do, kids. Gambling's wrong. That's just another negative narrative because it feeds that narrative, doesn't it? Anyone who has a bet is an addict. That's it.
Yeah, and somebody as high profile as Ivan Toney is definitely going to have an effect in the wider world in terms of betting's terrible. They've captured him, addict, it's terrible.
Well, if they could have got their claws into Ivan Toney, what could they do to you? Best stay away from the betting shop, isn't it? That you could hear people saying that.
Yeah, and so coming onto the nincompoops that run the British racing, the BHA, an absolute set of absolute. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some good people that work at the BHA, but the direction they are taking us, game, the sport for everyone, is certainly into a very dark place. They might not be able to see it, but I can. We got this right on affordability 3 years ago. We said what was going to happen. No one listened. Everyone, until the Racing Post picked up on it too late. It's already in. I'm telling you now, I think the future of racing is absolutely, completely finished now. The nails are already in the coffin. It's done. And we come on to premierisation. The word premierisation doesn't even exist. They're using a word to market an idea that doesn't even exist. Premierisation. Doesn't exist. Not in the dictionary. So here we go. So that's what they've done, where apparently they're going on a Saturday afternoon. They are going to make it 3 main meetings in a 2-hour window, and everyone else can go swivel and change the fixture times. And an excellent column was written on Patreon today. It's free to view, by the way, for anyone who wants to go and read it, by Andrew Woodman, explaining how this is going to carry out in terms of, so for example, Saturday that's just gone, you'll possibly have Cartmel kicking off at 10 a.m. You could have, what was the other meetings? The other whatever was on Saturday afternoon, kicking off sort of a matinee style meeting later outside of that 2-hour window. And like a good blog I read from Andy Stallard, a bookmaker at Cartmel, an on-course bookmaker, how is this going to affect people? John, how many people do you know want to go racing at 10 a.m?
4.
Exactly. Right. Everyone wants to basically, enjoy a day on the beer, drinking it's an afternoon sport. And these tracks are just going to get shafted. And like Mr. Woodman says in his article, this is going to end up where smaller tracks are going to have to end up accepting the coin from big bucks. In other words, to race, but forget your spectators, forget your big days out where you get 10,000 through the gates, because it's not going to happen anymore.
Does that mean Caribbean Carnival Day at Redcar's going to go for a shit?
Sadly, yes.
John, it might get rid of the stilt ladies there.
Nothing will move the stilt ladies from their pitch at Redcar. Nothing.
They're actually a perfect height for me.
For what? For what purpose?
The producer's absolutely scathing at me for that comment, John. Scathing. Big Gaz likes them. Likes the.
Well, he will do the flanges at 5'10".
So carried on. So the premierisation of British racing. I saw some trainer comments in the Racing Post today from Emma Lavelle, Henry Daly, the Kilt.
These are all trainers, are they?
Well, yes, it's debatable.
Lavelle and Daly,
yeah. They're all sort of accepting that change is needed. And by the way, I am not suggesting also that all these suggested changes are bad at all. But one thing I am saying, I look at the bigger picture. This is what I do, right? This is no after timing. We don't think, oh yeah, let's see what happens. This is going to lead to a domination of big corp, and you've seen the ground model. It literally is wall-to-wall dog racing, maybe 7 or 8, maybe more meetings a day of dog racing, wall-to-wall from morning till dusk. You can tell the bookmakers just want that. They're not interested in racing. They don't care. It literally is right. When we open up the shops in the morning, we want a horse race going off in 15 minutes after we open, like for the punters to lead them to the machines. That's all it is. It's nothing else more than that. I'm sick of trainers looking into this like the BHA and everyone think they're for them. It's not. They're not running it for you. They're not running it for me. They're not running it for trainers. They're not running it for punters that go on the race course. They're not running it for on-course bookmakers. They are running this sport for big corp. And this is where everyone needs to get a grasp of this and get a grasp of it right now. That's the BHA don't tell you that, but that's where it's heading. We're going to have 10 a.m. first races. We're going to have 9 p.m. last races, 7 days a week. I had to laugh also before I bring you two in, and I'll shut up for a bit and let you two have a go. Rafe Ralph made a comment also, and he said he asked the BHA to clarify that the Sunday evening fixtures planned were just a pilot and nothing more. Well, I can tell you now, Rafe Ralph, it will be a pilot, but it will be stamped. You can have your opinion. You won't get a hearing. They will take it on board, pay you lip service, and literally implement what Big Corp want. BHA are in bed with Big Corp. John Lang.
Well, of course they are, because it's easier than Jolie Harrington doing any work for her to let Big Corp lead her down the garden path.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing simpler than that. As the deal stands, as was mentioned earlier, British racing is dependent wholly on Big Corp pulling down everyone's pants.
Yes.
This is another aspect of it. The BHA won't say a word against it because this is all they can think of. They're not custodians of this sport. They're just frightened corporate shills, and they don't have a clue what to do as an alternative because they have no understanding or respect for this sport. They're a shambles.
I mean, I think you're right, and I think the level of knowledge and understanding of the sport is really evident now, isn't it? But the fact that the BHA leadership is happy to be led and told what to do by Big Corp. And picking your point up, Lee, I think you're right. This idea, the idea of there being a pilot is simply a device to try and give some legitimacy to the BHA's argument that consultation exercise. It isn't. But they know full well that the optics aren't good if they are seen to implement it immediately. They will go through this drama of running a few pilots, and the conclusion will be what a rip-roaring success we're going to have them. But it's predetermined.
The best hope that the likes of Rafe and Ralph have regarding this pilot and their feedback is that the BHA decide they haven't got enough data and need more pilots.
Yeah.
That is the best hope.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they've said they're going to be data-led on everything. The problem with that is that we don't know how that's going to play out in real terms. Which
she had no numbers when she was interviewed. So I was doing the data. She had no targets in mind.
No,
she didn't have a clue. If you'd asked her, she did not know what she was looking for. Gate receipts, betting turnover, whatever. She couldn't list one item.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they are happy to be led by Big Corp, so they don't actually need to know, do they? It's like, you tell us what you want.
No, but it'd be nice for the sham, wouldn't it? That she makes a pretense of knowing something about what's going on. Instead of sitting there in a 470s dining room on Skype.
G-plan furniture. I think there's a bit of G-plan in the background.
Possibly.
No rubbish.
But it's a hygienic QA kitchen.
Hygienic. 4 mica tabletops.
That's where it's at. That's where it's at.
Right.
But going back to pilot argument, so like Rafe Ralph asked the BHA for assurances that it was just a pilot. They will tell the trainers anything whatsoever. I mean, if you trust the BHA, what did the gambling reg do on affordability checks? It's just a pilot. We're just trialing it to see if it works. What's happening? Affordability checks. It literally is. It's bollocks. And it's time, if trainers do listen to this show, you all need to get your heads together, because I'm telling you what's going to happen. There's no after time in it. I promise you, this sport is Donald ducked in a matter of single-figure years. I don't know how long exactly, but listen, it's going to be Big Corp. You're going to be dog racing trainers. You're going to be turning up at Wolverhampton at 10 a.m. with your knackered stable staff driving the box half cut from the night before. And it literally is, and you're going to be running around empty arenas, like soulless, no atmosphere, nothing. And just like the ground game is now, it's an absolute disgrace. Trainers need to see this right now. They really do, because trainers have the biggest voice. John, another thing, how does this work out with like riding out and training horses? I mean, so for example,
you seriously think anybody gives a shit about that?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's the least of the worries, isn't it? I mean, the poor bastards that are doing the work. My God.
So, whilst we continue on our idiot custodians of the sport, which they are, they're idiots, and the people that are making the decisions are idiots, and possibly not being straight with us, and I'll get onto that in a minute before I talk about the whip crisis. Again, it was a consultation, but it's ended up where the jockeys are wholeheartedly distraught at this. Seeing emails from Skidmark to Chapman about his 9-day ban, at Zini with his 12-day ban. He can't drive back in his chauffeur-driven car with his bottle of champagne after a winner, so that's affected him. But
he does that once a month, doesn't he?
Well, yeah, he does now. This is where we're at, where it is a mass crisis. The jockeys need to be listened to. John, you even made a statement when Zenny won the Yorkshire Cup, and you said, I think you replied to someone and said, I haven't seen a whip. I haven't seen a bad whip offence in any.
I haven't
No.
seen abuses red all season.
No.
And I watch a few races.
And we also think they're ruining racing by, obviously, you can't get into it from off the pace anymore.
It's very difficult. If you're riding one that needs a bit of cajoling and won't go early, my God, you know, I mean, forget it. To win a race, you're getting stood down. End of.
Yeah. No, it needs sorting out. I disagree with the people that are agreeing with
the jockeys accepting this in the first instance were very naive, to say the least. I can only assume it was somebody stupid like Dale Gibson going into bat for him.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, they need Paul Struthers back double quick.
I mean, we're talking like thousands of days in bans already for jockeys since these were implemented. It's absolutely ridiculous. And
for no abuse.
Yeah.
No abuse whatsoever.
No butchering, no nothing.
They're using a tool that the BHA brought in that they said does not hurt. The BHA say this.
Yeah.
And they have limited the use of it, a tool that doesn't hurt.
Yes, we can see the direction of travel here, Chris. Previous pod watchword. Right, let's get on to the first Barstewards exclusive. You've waited long enough. And of course it's to do with the BHA. Of course it is. Why wouldn't it not? It's not really an exclusive in the fact that if anyone can be asked to look, you would see that BHA chairman, Joe Saumarez Smith, has a £3 million charge.
Does seem to be an obvious conflict. I mean, I'm just trying to think, what might there be an innocent explanation? But I can't see it. Can you, John?
I certainly can't. I mean, what happens next? Does Saumarez Smith pop up as chairman of the BBC?
Well, exactly. The difference. Yeah, the difference between Johnson and the £800,000 loan that got arranged for him. He made a chairman of the BBC, whatever it is at the top of the BBC. So again, why no hacks onto this? This is in the public domain. You can do it through Companies House. You can see this. Again, journos, Sleepy Hollow, Racing Post, where are you? We're doing the job for you. Literally how is that not a major conflict of interest? Aside from his interests in gaming products, you know, like slots and casinos, etc., which he holds a gambling commission license, for goodness sake.
Isn't it? It's mad. It's absolutely mad. You know, when you say it out loud, and you can read these things in newspapers, etc., and you sort of purse your lips, but when you say it out loud, dreadful, isn't it? You got a slot machine magnate, holds a gaming license as chairman of the BHA.
Yeah, and by the way, so the requirements at the BHA, and I think there's a security officer there by the name of James Moore that used to bet for a living. The requirements are you're not allowed to bet. You know, it's you know, I mean, so but these people running the sport have got their own self-interests, and I mean, the £3 million loan from Weatherby's surely has to be. I'm sorry, but that's a major breach for me in terms of integrity.
Well, it's at the very least, it's a cause for further explanation or clarification. You know, not without making an accusation. Somebody in the press should say, "Tell us about this, Joe. What's this about?"
Yeah, exactly. And why is it from Weatherby's that obviously? And like I said, that contract is supposed to go out to tender to other organisations bidding for that contract. How can that remain impartial if that's the case? We can't insinuate anything because you've got to. It's like a bingo operator. It's like Paul Shane in Heidi Eye when he used to fiddle the bingo at Maplings.
Yeah,
you know,
Head bogus.
Yeah. I mean, you know, that's what I'm saying. You know, we just don't know. But at least we need somebody at the BHA to clarify this and say.
Question that needs to be asked and said, "Hey, BHA, do you know that this is the case with your chairman?" Yeah,
and do you have a problem with it? As in, you know,
is it right? Is it right? Is it accurately reported? Is the publicly available information correct? If it is, what were the circumstances that caused you as an organisation to say, "Yeah, well, that's all right"? Who signed that off? Who agreed it? Yes. Assuming they knew at the time, and if they didn't know, why not? And if they do know now, what are they going to do about it, if anything?
Yes, indeed. So, BHA, if you've got any representatives listening to this podcast, get in touch or do a press release. Put people at ease that there's nothing to see here and we're talking a load of shit. But we're not totally shit, as we know, unlike Epsom.
Oh, not always.
So we're going to move on to Epsom now, and Epsom sometimes it beggars belief. I don't know why it bothers me. It shouldn't bother me. Why should I care? But like an LGBTQ plus enclosure for Epsom at the Derby meeting. John, have you got any particular opinion on this?
Well, I don't know why they don't go the whole hog and make any members of the LGBT community wear a yellow star.
That was my thought, right? Sheffield Wednesday years ago did a thing where they said, "Oh, right, unemployed people can come in for a £5, but you had to sit in this corner segment of the ground where obviously no one sits." So literally every time, you basically point at them, their skin, that kind of thing. It's just, that's what I'm saying.
You waved back at them, Lee, did you, when you were sitting in the corner? Wave back.
Yeah, I did. Fuck you. Yeah, fuck you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm officially unemployed, so I'll pay the £5. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
But like John says, the yellow star thing is the same because, like, literally this enclosure. Then, if you walk past it or you just look in or whatever, that's what
the public. That's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it might as well. We've got the economic policies of the Weimar Republic. £1 billion for a haircut. So why not this now? This is the collapse of civilization. I'm telling you, honestly.
It's like a wider world thing, and it's crept into racing.
But why? What services or aspects of the sport are denied to people of a particular sexual orientation? I don't get it. I don't get why the sport feels it needs to identify these race goers as a specific subset of race goers. I mean,
you didn't used to need to put them in an enclosure. I mean, my God, you can spot them a mile off. You remember Peter Davis?
Yeah, was it he owned Michelozzo for Cecil?
No, he owned Peter Davis.
Oh, but yeah, he did actually. But was it Michelozzo? Oh, that's Charles St George.
Yeah. Peter Davis was in with Charles St George and a few others in Peter Davis. Because they named it after Peter Davis.
Human caterpillar.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. Why sort of? Me and the producer have never understood in sports in particular why fans need to have sort of LGBTQ plus meetups.
But within that enclosure, Epsom, what services and facilities are going to be afforded to people there? Because I want the straight one, if that's the fucking case. Yeah,
I've just got this vision of Electric Six, a pole, and in his Abraham Lincoln hat.
Oh God. It's odd, isn't it? It's virtue signalling on steroids. I mean, whose idea was it? And who within the LGBTQ plus community think this is a good idea?
Well, even Gay Kellaway doesn't. She said, what a load of piffle. You might as well have spent the money doing something good somewhere else. And I've never gone to football or racing. I've never gone to any of the, and ever.
Wondering how you're gonna fuck.
Well, I'm in a minority there, but anyway, but just working out people's sexuality, I couldn't care less. I could not care.
Utterly irrelevant.
Yes.
Whatever your views are, it's utterly irrelevant to the event you're paying to go and watch.
Yes.
You don't care what colour, creed, religious persuasion, sex. It doesn't matter. You're not there for other people. You're there to watch the sport you paid for, and I just don't get it.
So let's put it another way, chaps. Let's go. Right, let's say it's an enclosure for black people only. I mean, that's just
pro, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's just Josh Happy.
Well, we've got that old lass on bus then, haven't we? Well, to Rosa Parks.
Oh,
right, yeah.
You'll get out of here, though. That's your enclosure. You'll get fucked.
Yeah, thank you, Johnny Rebel. Yeah.
astonishing, more astonishing stuff, really. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Who is signing this shit off?
Exactly.
Really?
Exactly. Who the hell is thinking, actually, no, what? That's a fucking great idea.
There must be an happy gas.
I don't know.
Well, I spoke to Woody about it, Councillor Woodburn, and he reckons it'll be some young, possibly intern of that leaning that's maybe come up with it, and nobody dares challenge them. The ones in charge have thought, ooh, well, we better not challenge that. Maybe that's a good idea.
We don't know why it's a good idea, but it sounds like something we shouldn't reject. And we want to keep our jobs and our pensions, so let's go with it. Never going to be criticised these days for that kind of initiative, are you? Irrespective of the cost or whether it yields any benefits in terms of increased following from various communities, you're never going to lose your job by saying, let's have an enclosure there. Because
well, if I was LBGT plus in any
queue out.
Q, whatever. I keep forgetting letters. There's that many. They're going to have more to it, I think. If I was that way out, I'd just want to sit with my friends. I wouldn't care less about an enclosure for me, or why it doesn't make any sense. That'd be my view. I'd go with my mates.
I wonder what sort of reception we'd get if we went in to collect our badges in August at York, and we said, "Where do we go? We're straight."
You fuck right off, mate.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. Absolutely ludicrous from Epsom. Whoever's made that decision,
With our TV, have a man on the spot in there showing what's going on.
Oh, you see what it brings? Bigots. It brings all the bigots out. You bigot, whatever. But Epsom did some good this week when they did an injunction on the old course invader loons. I'm not even going to name the group because I hate them. But to be honest, I'm quite disappointed they did it because I just wanted the Pikeys to give him a good hiding job.
I think it will still happen.
You said that, and you said that'll get nasty.
Yeah, I think we're back to Razor Gang time, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's odd, isn't it? That this group, who we will not name, are so keen. If they're so keen on equine welfare, why don't they rock up to Appleby Horse Fair? How about that? Go up there.
We know where they want.
Yeah, well, why is that then? Why? Because you might get your teeth kicked down to your arsehole. Let's go to somewhere much safer. Yeah, go to Appleby Horse Fair. There you go. Plenty to see and do.
Yeah,
they'll realise how much safer this is if that off the middle.
Yes.
It's so true. I think this is a bad move from said group.
They're on about 1,000 extra police. I think they want about 60 ambulances.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, the Jockey Club's got a good argument here. They estimated that if they hadn't got this injunction, they would have had to spend 150,000 on security staff to make sure no one could get on the field of play, so to speak. I think the Jockey Club haven't got much faith in the gypsy community that might just,
Let's not forget the Jockey Club had a meeting with these pricks.
Yeah, incredible.
Did they really?
Yeah.
I didn't know there was actual kind of proper dialogue. Wow.
Oh, they had a more of a Kit Kat.
That's legitimising it, isn't it? By that straight away gives them the veneer of legitimacy. God, these things are idiots.
Prediction then, chaps, because we don't like after timing on this show. Are we predicting they'll still do it?
Yeah.
Chris?
No, I don't think they will.
I'm going yes. It's 2-1 to Barstewards. Barstewards predict they'll still do it despite the court injunction.
Everyone loves a martyr.
Yeah.
They do. I mean, this is it. I mean, the martyr now, though, has become the victim, hasn't it? We live in a victimhood world of woe is me, feel sorry for me. And I'm afraid...
the fucking Marxists.
It is the fucking Marxists again. I'll get pulled down for that. I've been pulled down for that before. It's nothing to do with Marxism, this.
Neo-Marxism, isn't it?
Yeah. So that brings me on to our final exclusive. And this is an interesting one, because I can categorically say it's correct because I know my source on this. Trainer Alice Haynes is in trouble. She was raided by the BHA earlier this week, and they found a lot of horses there that weren't registered to be in her care. So I can tell you a link here that some of it will be linked to Ammo Racing. Ammo Racing clearly seem to be preparing their horses with Dominic French Davis. Well, that's the name on the license. But again, it's so weird, this, isn't it? That we know Dominic French Davis isn't training them. It's a Brazilian called Rafael Frere who trained in Norway. He's the one that's been getting the Ammo horses ready. And they're turning up at poor Alice's literally a couple of weeks before they're due to make the debut. So the BHA obviously may have got a tip off. Usually that's how it works because they're not that clever.
Wouldn't be from their own investigatory work, would it?
Not really. It'd be tip off. And so poor Alice got raided. So I reckon Alice might be in. Yes, there they come for Alice now.
The life team going that fast.
Absolutely. So it looks to me that Alice Haynes could be in a fair bit of trouble here. But the thing with the BHA, and I've known this from past investigations from them that I've found out about, that sometimes they like to keep things quiet because it's all, it's bad luck for the sport. We don't want this going out. And it'd be interesting now that we've broke the news, whether someone tells them or that shitty podcast has fucking told everyone about the Alice Haynes raid. What are we going to do? They might have to, or some racing media bod might do their job and find out. But anyway, Alex
might put the hard word on us.
But John, let me talk, because punishments here. This surely could be a severe punishment here. I mean, yeah, could be.
Could be. Although I'm also a bit sceptical about things like this, whether they're worth much punishment at all, because they haven't run for her. They haven't, it's like, if I picked one up and sent it to Anthony or Brian or whoever, I was like in no rush to do anything with it, so I'd salvage it from the kilt. And I wanted it just to have 3 months on good grub and getting turned out. I maybe wouldn't be in a rush and might not sign some forms, whatever, and I wouldn't expect to get all over the coals for it if Brian hadn't got it registered up and the BHA popped in and said, what else is this? If they aren't running, they aren't entered, what damage are they doing?
Right. I'm not going to name the jockey, but there was at the time it was raided, there was a jockey that had got one on the gallops, and he wouldn't take it back to the yard. He wouldn't take it back to the yard because he knew then, he'd probably be. I don't know who would implicate. But it's interesting again though that it's Ammo Racing. They seem a bit weird. Do you find this not weird then that Ammo Racing get the horses prepped by this Brazilian, Dominic French Davis? Then in the case of Alice Haynes, it gets sent to Alice 2 weeks before it's due to run. I mean, is this a done thing in many yards? I don't know.
No, I think they're assholes. Alice can get the job done. Why wouldn't you send them there?
Yeah, it's weird how they're getting prepped somewhere else, but that's the. Well, what's going off at Dominic French Davis yard?
Well, they're getting a Brazilian, aren't they?
Yeah. Is it the Wesley Ward material job?
Or Big Bob Baffert.
Well, they're definitely getting a Brazilian.
A fish finger?
Yeah.
The landing strip.
Okay.
I know, it's terrible, this. We've ruined a pod again. Yeah, Apple unclean. Poor Apple. Anyway.
Apple must have fucking nightmares over this.
I think they do. So we say Alice Haynes. What's the predictions? Do you reckon they'll go for a John, or do you reckon they'll...
Nothing to see here.
Do you reckon? We're saying nothing to see here for Alice Haynes.
Yeah.
Who got raided by the BHA? We've also, by the way, before we finish the show, we've got another exclusive for next week planned, and this is another bombshell in racing. It's I tell you honestly, the things we get to find out is tremendous. Racing's terribly seedy, but there we go. So that's something to look forward to next week. Any other business, chaps? Anything we can sort of touch on before we finish?
I bet 8 seconds yesterday from 8 bets. That's got to be some sort of...
Oh my God, 8 seconds from 8 bets. That's amazing.
It's unbelievable.
Oh, the producers just reminded me about John and Chris. Chris, you might know a bit about this. I don't know. You might not. When trainers change their name, so like it becomes Mark Johnston to Charlie Johnston, right? Is this just to avoid inheritance tax?
I think it's got to be, isn't it? That was my guess. It was only slightly flippant when I saw that when it was first became a rule that you're able to do it. And my first thought was, I bet that's an inheritance tax dodge, because there's no good reason for a lot of it, is there?
Because they've only got to live 7 years. So
Yeah, exactly.
so it's like do it before the kilt's about to
Well, look at the time of life they do it in. They're not decrepit, are they? But they sort of, gone over the crest of their career, should we say? But that certainly, I'm sure there is a perfectly legitimate reason. But that was my first sort of gut feeling when I saw that come in a few years back.
Yeah. What do you think, John?
Can't argue with any of that.
Yeah. I mean, do you think like 30 at his tipping point days? I mean, he's going to have to step up to the plate, isn't he?
I know. I'm still yet to be convinced he wants to be a trainer. While he's got a telly license. Did
you see him argue? Well, not argue. Sorry. Did you see he had to talk to the old fruit bat at Normandy Stud at Goodwood when Gregory won?
I bet he loved that.
Yeah. Well, she did an interview with Nick Luck afterwards on Racing TV, and yeah, she says she is pretty bad. I get Sergeant Wilson's comments about her, because she claimed she would never ever ask John or Thady or tell them what to do. That's what she claimed. Yeah. No.
I don't get the sense that you're right. I never get that kind of. I don't know whether he's a sort of character, but he doesn't seem to brim with enthusiasm for the job, does he, Thady? I always get the sense that he's sort of, reluctantly being pushed into the job because no one else wants to do it. 'Cause I think he had a degree in sort of history of art, I think, which isn't the sort of a.
It's a sort of shit degree you'd expect him to have, isn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly. But I mean, you think you'd kind of end up working for Sotheby's or Christie's, and you've got to come home, boy, and be the trainer. Oh, must I, father? Oh yes, blah blah blah. I just don't get. He's not a natural communicator, is he? Maybe he's just a shy lad. But
he should be sat with like David Dickinson on The Real Deal, John.
I love him.
He?
I fucking love David.
Yeah, instead of that one with t-shirt and earrings.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love David. I love his suits and all.
Yeah.
Hell, yeah.
Would another 50 do?
Yeah. The Duke says, I think
you would in that case.
Yeah. We said, I think the Duke says you've been fucking had over, love. That's at least 12 grand. I'll give you 600 quid for it.
Yeah. Go on, to finish us off then, we'll bring up old Stotty and Megs. What do you reckon's been happening lately with them two? I mean, are they all good, do you reckon? Do you reckon Megs has got him,
It's the big week this week, isn't it?
Yes.
Megs will be, go on, Kevin, get your finger out. I've got 5 new outfits for this week. We're out every night while Epsom's on. We're staying in the hotel as well. We've got bill to pay. If it's not 3 winners, you know what happens. You're not touching it for a week.
Nice. Cinema verite, as they say in France. That was like being in the room with you, John. I've never been so frightened.
You do a soap opera, couldn't you, Megs and Kev? You could definitely do a soap opera. You could do a brilliant script.
Should be a regular slot at home with the Stots. Beat the Stots.
Yeah. Stotty case, yeah.
It'd be bigger than the Osbournes, wouldn't it?
Oh.
Yeah, slightly less coherent as well.
Brilliant. Right, we've had a lot of fun this year. It certainly cheered me up, and I hope you enjoyed the 2 exclusives. Let us know what you think on Twitter, etc., of what we've said, and hopefully we've got BHA representatives and Alice Haynes listening tonight. That'll be good fun, won't it, on Twitter? Right, that's all from me, John, and Chris. We're back with Thursday night for Patreon members, the Oaks Day preview. That will be available Friday morning, free to air. And as normal, the Friday Derby preview, free to everyone, all you tight cunts that won't pay £7. That's all from us. Bye for now.